Hello, everyone. My name is Adora Rama, the CEO and founder of Amaka. Thank you so very much for joining us today, day two of the Our World Festival Motivation Monday. Really appreciate everyone who's tuned in, who's been collaborating with us and speaking to us and interacting with us. It's been an incredible, last 2 days here with us today. Again, I'm the CEO and founder of Amaka. We are a brand platform dedicated to celebrating Pan-African womanhood and all its complexities, beauty, and glory. And essentially today, for this beautiful panel that we have today, we'll be going over the trials, tips, and tricks of running a business, which is something that I've been exploring, and we have incredible women with us on the panel to kind of have a very big deep dive into this topic, discussing passion versus purpose, entrepreneurship. So we have an incredible host of people. Before I get into introducing the guests, I'd love for everyone to use the Our World Festival hashtag and make sure to tag Amaka at amaka.studio across our socials. And we also have, our second giveaway. So if you'd love to win an iPad as well as beautiful products from Black and African-owned brands, please make sure to follow the instructions and tune in and hopefully to win that grand prize. And I would like to thank our sponsors, Visa Bank, who's sponsoring the entire event, and Motivation Mondays, graciously sponsored by Oakwood Green. So I'd love to, bring in the guests for our Passion versus Purpose Entrepreneurship panel. We have Christina Okorocha, who's the co-founder of Vamp PR, is a leading digital talent and entertainment PR and social marketing agency, specializing in showcasing the Black British experience through Black content creators. They're the 2019 finalists for the Black British Awards, as well as the finalists for the 2020 Drum Marketing Awards as well. So thank you so much for joining us, Christina. We have Sarah Diouf, who's the founder of Tongo Studio, an online retail platform and fashion brand produced in Senegal, 100% made in Africa, has an incredible background in visual and digital communication background, has worked with various different brands, and featured and worked with Beyonce as well as Naomi Campbell as well as launched 2 publications, Gubora and Noir, biannual, 2 publications dedicated to women of color. So thank you so much, Sarah. And then we have Susan Oladele as well, also known as African Creatures, celebrity hairstylist, public speaker, the founder of a hair salon in New York, Hair by Susie, which was founded in 2011, has worked with the biggest names in the business, from Solange, Beyonce, Zoe Kravitz, and has her headquarters in Brooklyn, New York, with a great community behind that. So I'd love to also acknowledge Rabia Gur, who was meant to be on the panel. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to join us, but we wish her all the best. But welcome, everyone. Welcome, ladies. I hope you're all doing well. Where are you all tuning in from? I'd love to know. I'll start with Susie.
I'm in Brooklyn. I'm actually at the salon. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Great.
Brooklyn.
I'm in London.
London. And Sarah, where are you tuning in?
And I'm in Dakar. I'm in Dakar right now, Senegal.
Ooh.
In the car. Okay.
Yes.
Great. So, I'd love to kind of, get into this. I know I've provided a bit of background about your brands, but it'd be good to hear from you guys directly from the source. Tell us about your brands in your own words. What does it mean to you? What, how has it, flourished and developed over the years? I'll start with Sarah, if you want to answer that.
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Sarah. I'm the founder of Tongoro. As she brilliantly introduced, we are an online fashion brand that has launched in 2016. We're based in Dakar, Senegal, where our warehouse and production facility is also based. So my goal with Tongo was really to present and offer a 100% made in Africa label that would stand for quality, that will meet international standards, and also that would be affordable because, for the longest time, Africa and African goods have suffered from very bad connotation and also a really bad image when it came to quality. And I wanted to change that. And to invite people to consume more goods, to inspire them to just taste a little bit of our culture. It was very important for us to offer products that were accessible price-wise. And so we've launched this premium brand. It's been we're going to turn 5 on the 25th of May. We had an incredible journey. I'm very grateful to be here and to be able to share, my experience with you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And Christina, would you provide some background about VAMP?
Yeah, of course. So I'm one of the co-founders of VAMP. The 3 of us, there's Ruby, Rumbi, and then myself. We met at university basically, and we became friends, and then we all went on to our kind of like respected internships and jobs, and we decided to kind of come together to create VAMP because we felt like there was a kind of issue in the industry where there wasn't that many Black content creators, and we felt like we were being very much influenced by Black content creators only. Yet it was weird that we weren't really seeing them at events or seeing them in like mainstream ads. So we thought that was a bit weird. And one of our friends is actually a content creator, Mariam Musa. So she was our friend at uni first, and then we kind of worked with her to become like who she is now. But yeah, so essentially we do manage some influencers, so digital talent such as Nella Rose, Mariam, Musa, Esther Falana, Yelena, and Elisa, and Adiola Patron. And we also do entertainment PR. We work with a lot of movies, so we work on all of kind of like the big mainstream titles, but we only work on films that have a Black lead or a Black like kind of cast. That's the only thing that we do. So we focus on Black talent, Black culture, and Black tastemakers. That's that.
Thank you for that. And we're going to go into a bit of detail around that. And Susie, if you could tell us, a bit about yourself or about your brand from your own words.
Yes, thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to meet you guys. Well, my name is Susie. Some people know me as African Creature. I started the brand Hair by Susie in the comfort of my room, honestly. Like I started doing a lot of hair videos, braids. I'm Nigerian, so, like my mom used to braid my hair in different cornrows and box braids. And I just picked it up and I just started doing it on my own. And one of my videos went viral. And then I was like, oh, okay, there's something here. So I just continued to like do hair in my community for my friends, my neighbors, and after a while, I continued to use social media as a tool to get my word, like my business out there. And then I came up with Hair by Susie, me and my clients. Actually, my clients make my business, to be honest. The community, the people who come every day, we service so many people. I know you mentioned celebrities, but everyday people, So I would say the community really makes up our brand. And I started that, and I'm very inspired, by Hair by Susie, because you learn so much. As a salon, you come, you're like, oh my gosh, I just went through a crazy day, and it's just like an amazing melting pot of different experiences. So it's more, I look at it more than a salon.
Yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you for that. And I definitely want to go into a bit more, detail with all of you about the beginning. Like, I want to talk about what was your now factor. Where were you all three of you at your lives and what propelled you to, to start now. And Susie, I want to start with you because, doing a bit of background about you as well. And, you went into kind of law school, and then that wasn't for you, and medical schools, that wasn't for you. And then you kind of started this off, at 18, like you said, in the comfort of your own home. Like, what really, pushed you and inspired you to take that leap and really pursue your passion and essentially, spark that change for you?
I knew that if I didn't choose myself and my passion and what I love, that I was going to be sad forever. Like, I knew that through everything, I knew that I felt in my heart that hair and beauty and creating made me happy, but it didn't make everyone else around me happy. Like my family, your community. They're like, what you want to do hair for? That's not like a career. Like, how you gonna like take care of yourself? Like, why would you like not go to like something that is more secure? So immediately I was like, you know what? If I don't choose myself, if I don't choose my passion, my happiness is going to be out the window. So I just was like, I'm just going to go all in and go for it. And in the beginning stages, I went through so much. I was homeless, for a year. I was sleeping on couches. I was like in the shelter, in and out of the shelter. It was a really hard and tough time, even going through like abuse, with the spouse that I was with at the time, mental abuse. It was just so much. But God really, really, really pushed me to continue doing what I love, and I had to see the bigger picture, no matter what, even though if everyone else doesn't see it, once you see it, once you have an idea of like, you know what, this is what makes me happy and this is where I want to go, you're always going to make it, So I just had to know that through sacrifice will come, the treasure, and the journey is a treasure.
Yeah, exactly. No, I really like the fact, you spoke about, seeing the bigger picture and like the journey,
Yes.
the treasure essentially. And I feel like, with Christina, with you as well, the whole purpose for VAMP was to essentially diversify, the content space, especially social media space as well, and the PR space as well. I've definitely worked in the kind of PR agency world where it's very, very white centric, and westernized centric as well. And you said, you all met at uni, and you were, I believe, at 23 at the time as well.
Yeah, 23. Yeah.
So, what was your now factor where you had to take that leap, and especially in an incredibly white dominated space? Why at that particular time? Why not later?
That's a good question. So we met at uni at like 18, and then we started VAMP at like 23, 21, 20. The numbers are all blurry sometimes. But the now factor we had was like, I'm very much a person that's just like just do it now. Like, I'm very much a just do it person, because would you rather look back in 20 years, 10 years and look back and think, why didn't I do it then? Like, I think it's always best to start when you're younger, because you have so much less responsibilities to kind of, like, do you know what I mean? And yeah, I think the now factor was just like, it was just crazy just looking at socials and looking at media and not seeing people who look like you, even though media draws so much from our culture. And also looking to America, like in America, literally like the generations of people, even though it's not that many, there's still generations of people who are kind of making money through music, making money through businesses and stuff. In the UK, I just feel like Black people are so far behind in comparison to America. And I think, as Black British people, I just think that our journey and our story isn't kind of at the forefront as much. And that's just kind of was our passion to kind of push.
And they're new like characters or people coming into play, especially like highlighting the Black British experience at the forefront as well, which is why I feel like VAMP is such a timely and much needed platform as well. And Sarah, I wanted to go to you as well. What is your now factor, with establishing the brand in Senegal? And for those who don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, Tongoro translates into star. From the national language from Central African Republic.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yeah. So this is my mother is from. So the funny thing is that I come from an editorial background. I launched my first digital publication in 2009. I ran it for like 10 years, and this is how actually I started to highlight underrepresented communities in the art world and the fashion world. And I think around 2005, 2006, we started observing like a rise of African designers, but all of them were positioning themselves as luxury. And the thing is, at the time, the way people would perceive African fashion, nobody was going to splurge $1,000 on a dress where they cannot even touch the garment. And we're suffering also from just the bad perception about the quality of our goods. So I've just spent at least the past 6 years observing what was going on in the market, and also the appeal of African culture, that the world has today. Everybody wants to have something to do with Africa. So when I launched Tongoro, I was trying to answer a demand for this appeal, but at the same time, I think it was more than time for us to reclaim a narrative that for so long everyone else, used to take. And my goal was to tell like an authentic African story through a brand that will carry to everyone. So if you take her designs, it's not you can feel like an ethnic touch, but it's fashion that is designed for everybody. So you don't have to be African to wear it. And I think today the challenge for us, for African brands, whether you're in media, whether you're in fashion, wherever, but when you come from Africa, you need to be able to cater to a global audience, because this is how we're gonna spark international exchange and also foster economic growth. Today 70% of our sales come from the US. We're doing e-commerce only. I don't have a shop. This is not even something that is part of my business plan or my vision right now, because I think we live in a digital world, and more than ever with everything that's been happening over the past year with the pandemic and everything, thank God the business hasn't suffered, but if anything we've thrived, because also unfortunately with all the events that happen in the US but also on the continent, and everyone shed the light on Black-owned business and also on African businesses. So it's been really good for us, but the goal is really to take Africa to the world, if I can say it like that, but make sure that the success is shared by every actor of the chain. Today, the brand is doing well, the company is doing well. My goal is really to hire more tailors, train tailors, so that we can build, production facility and really challenge the perception that people have when it comes to industrial production, because we don't have industry the way we call industry, in the West, for example, in Africa, especially in garment production. So that's really the goal, and that's really the challenge. And but I think culture is really the foundation of everything, because the way I see things is that creativity really propel Africa on the scene, and then this is what makes us attractive, but we have to find a way to monetize it so that we can become tangible actors, from an economic point of view as well. So
Yeah,
that's a lot.
no, I'm really glad that you said Africa's world, and also monetizing, and like also autonomy and taking ownership over our like different the content production side as well, the various different chains of distribution and production and consumption as well, which I'll get into, which is really, really important. As this panel is about passion versus purpose, and talking about entrepreneurship as well. I'd love to hear what concrete, tangible steps about how did you all land your first client or first sale? What were the that you
I was very lucky, again, coming from this editorial background and having this audience that I've managed to build over the past years. When I decided to close down the magazine, and the audience was, I think, it was kind of global. I was still established in Paris at the time, so we were traveling to New York, London, and Milan for Fashion Week. So all this audience actually followed me into this new venture. And when I launched Tongoro, I think I already had like some supporters in that sense that turned into customers. And then it was just more word of mouth. And I always like to call myself a child of the digital because all my endeavors have always been internet, driven. And just using the tools that we have, everything is free today. The knowledge is free. You have YouTube, the communication and marketing is free. You have Instagram. So I just did my best to utilize all those tools and make the best of it. And the funny thing is that fashion was never a passion of mine. I've always been very attracted to creating imagery. Creating visual, it's what makes me, in the whole process of creating the clothes, it's production and all of that. The most exciting part for me is really when we are designing and planning the campaign, because this is the moment where we actually tell the story and where the story unfolds, in different points, and people are inspired and then they want to be a part of it as well. So yeah, I think it started with a magazine. Then I found out that I was very, very attracted to actually create imagery that tell a story. And fashion to me is just an amazing tool to enhance those story, because visually, when you have a beautiful piece or when you have a beautiful setup and you manage to make everything work together, magic happens. And this is the magic that actually was selling while we're developing that narrative and that story with Tongoro.
So essentially, fashion storytelling were the kind of springboard into
Absolutely.
Well.
Absolutely. Yes.
And Susie, I'd love to hear your story. Like, what were the first steps? Like, how did you land your first kind of client?
So I knew that in order for people to see my work, they had to see it on me first. So I started becoming my own muse, doing my hair, doing braids, doing cornrows. So people would be like, "Oh my God, your hair look good. Oh, who did your hair?" So that's how it would like lure them in. And then I knew I had to build some sort of client base. So I started doing like discounted, like priced hairstyles, like a buy one get one free. Like if you do one, your friend could get it for free. So it just started just like selling itself. And then social media played a huge part. Because I'm Nigerian, because I had strict parents and they're like, you can't go anywhere. You have to stay home, read your book. I was like, okay. So I had to build my business.
Sounds familiar.
So I was like, I can't be home and I need to build my client base. So I use social media. Every hairstyle I would create, literally every hairstyle. I didn't care if it didn't look as good. I would share it. I would share it every single day. And after a while, okay, 5 likes, 10 likes, I didn't care. I was like, no matter what, I want people to see my work. So I continue to share it. And that's how I really built a fan base, a client base. And on YouTube too. Just sharing. Honestly, people love to see that. Like, as much knowledge as you have, share as much as you can. Because then it's like, oh wow, they know what they're talking about in that field. People will just continue to just follow you. So I'm very inspired. Like I use myself as a muse. I utilize social media, discounting prices. And that's pretty much how I started, right in my house. I remember
That's a good
my fold-up chair, girl. Fold-up chair, a little mirror, my energy, my hands. God bless my hands.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a hole in the ceiling. I was like, man, this is crazy. And my client was like, don't worry, you got this. And I was like, you're right. So it's like one head at a time.
I feel like that's a really good pro tip. Like you are your first client.
I'm my first client.
First client. You should believe in yourself and adorn what you're creating for other people, essentially.
Exactly.
And Christina, before I get into you, we are joined by Will Glory, who's the founder and owner of Nema Iris. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you all?
Hi. Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'll do a quick intro. Gloria is serial entrepreneur, author, current Wharton School MBA student at Princeton, I believe. And essentially the founder of Nema Iris, which is a new amazing fashion brand, as well as the founder of African Hustle series, which is dedicated to highlighting stories of young Africans across the continent as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate your time. We were just talking about how you first landed your client. So I wanted to ask you, Christina, as well, like, how did you what are the first steps that you took to really, land your first client? And what I've read, it was, the Universal Pictures girls trip, I believe.
Yeah.
What was those steps? How did that happen?
That was a really, really interesting. It's a really interesting story because with Girls Trip, we didn't really kind of have anything. Like we didn't have any kind of case studies or anything, but we just knew we wanted to put Black content creators like push Black content creators. So what we did was Ruby used to actually work at Universal Pictures, but in a completely different team. She worked in like the home entertainment team. But so she just called up someone in the publicity team and was like, "Oh, I know Girls Trip is coming to the UK. Like, are you planning to do anything on it?" And because she had worked at Universal, she knows how they do with Black films. Like, Straight Outta Compton was the last Black film they had, and that did well, kind of internationally more in America than it did here because they didn't do much promo here at all. And she was like, "I know we can really help them with this film." So obviously we called them. She was like, "Oh, I haven't started working on it yet, but I'll probably start working on it in a few weeks. Can you send over like a deck of some ideas maybe?" So then we sent over a deck of ideas, like all set up, like stayed up, made this whole deck of ideas that we wanted to do. And we sent it to her, and then she kind of called us and she was like, "Oh, this looks great. Can you send me another deck?" And then I was like, "No, like if you want to, we'll come in and we'll pitch to you." So she's like, "Yeah, come in." So we went in, we pitched like everything. We told them about all the kind of contacts that we have. We asked them about their kind of strategy. We told them how we could help change it. And they were like, "Okay, do you know what? Instead of just giving you like 10 seats at the screening, we're going to give you the whole screening. And we just want 5 seats." And we were like, "Okay, cool." So we literally invited like every Black influencer you could think of. We had Michaela Cole there as well. We had Coley Nolan, which she's like some big presenter on TV. She's a white woman, but she's like hilarious. And then, but we had like majority Black influencers there, and that was like the first time majority Black influencers in the UK, females came together to kind of celebrate a launch, and it was just a big moment. And the movie did so well the next day. Everyone went to see it. Universal was so happy, and then that's when we went to Disney, and we were like, "Look what we did here! We could do this for Black Panther." And we went to Black Panther. Yeah,
That is incredible that you guys whipped it up so fast and creatively as well.
Thank you.
And I wanted to go into you, with Gloria, as well. My previous question, actually, we were speaking about, what is your now factor? What really propelled you to start your business, start now? From what I read about you, you essentially started this, during a very tumultuous time in, in our history with a panoramic, I would say. So, what pushed you, what inspired you to kind of essentially start Nema Iris, and essentially start now? What was that?
Yeah. No, you're totally right. The company was founded during the pandemic. So essentially, after I graduated from Princeton, I was just really frustrated with my 9 to 5 job. I hated it. And I'd always felt like I should never at any point in time do anything I don't want to do. And I think that it's really applicable to anyone on this call or tuning in. At any point in time, to not ever be doing something you don't want to do. So I took time off and my job 6 months, and I created African Hustle series. I was traveling all across the continent. I went to Kenya, I went to Ghana, and I went to Senegal. And it was in Senegal that I met all these incredible artists, and I started creating for fun. Like even people that know me today would be like, they had no idea I would ever be a designer. I don't even really consider myself a designer. I feel like I am an executive that just so happens to know how to create and design. It has a strong eye, but it's one of those things grows and they become so much bigger than you, that's when you realize you're doing something that's like fate and that's destiny, right? And it's like whether or not, you have haters who don't want you to succeed, or you have a pandemic, right?
Mhm.
Working against you, when you are doing something that is so God ordained, you can never fail. I quit my job. I ended up going back to work, and I quit my job in March, which literally was the
Right
same week the
before.
pandemic. Like, yeah, it was literally like that same week. It was like, we are now in a pandemic. And I quit my job, and I was like, I don't have healthcare now, and all kinds of things. But I was so convinced that like where I was in life would lead me to, like I knew where that was going to take me, right? Like the next promotions that would happen, then maybe, nice home and a white picket fence. And like, there's something wrong with the white picket fence. There's not.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it just wasn't for me. And I didn't know where Nema Iris would take me, but I knew that where my current job would take me, finding where I wanted to go.
Mhm.
And so I risked it all to build this company. And we just started growing and catching on. I think people really resonated with the brand,
Yeah.
resonated with the community that is being built, resonated with the fact that they themselves as women of color, do not often see themselves represented in brands that they really love.
Mhm.
And so it's just naturally grown from there. But I think ultimately when you do what you're meant to be doing, like you literally cannot fail. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, that's what happened.
That's incredible. And then I wanted to know what were the first steps that you took to, to land, I guess, your first sale for your first client. I feel like Nema Iris really took the world by storm very quickly and very rapidly. But can you remember that, that first sale, that first moment when you felt like, oh wow, this is really taking off?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Like for the longest time we had like 200 followers on Instagram. Like, and I knew all of them. Most of them were my friends. Some of them were probably like friends of friends. Yeah, and I remember like this was like literally in April, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've quit this job. Like, it's like we're making sales, but not that much. But it's one of those things where you just kind of have to like put your head down, and you have to get a lot of help, right?
Mhm.
So my roommate at the time, she was really helpful with marketing and helping me with our life ways to find customers, find the community that I was looking for. But also, I think people really don't recognize the importance of having a really good product. Yeah, you can market anything that's really, really strong, but if you have a good product, your product is always going to speak for you, and your customers become your biggest ambassadors. And they're, your biggest unpaid ambassadors, right? So they're
Yeah.
constantly advocating for you. We see that all the time. People not only referring us to their friends, but also within their own companies as well. There's so many initiatives going on right now to support entrepreneurs of color, women entrepreneurs, etc. And so whenever those opportunities happen in people's companies, they'll be like, "Oh, excuse me, this
Mhm.
company, Nema Iris." So they're constantly advocating for you, even when these kinds of advocations that you cannot pay for. I think it's really fun when you have a strong product and you build something that people really, really align with. Um, but yeah, and also things just like really believing in yourself. Like we started growing so quickly, and our very first feature was in Vogue. I remember I was like up
Yeah.
super late at night, and it was like 3 a.m. in the morning. We had just moved the platform from Squarespace to Shopify, and I don't know if anyone has ever built a Shopify platform, but it's complicated. I mean, Shopify is the best place to host your platform, but it is very complicated. And I was like editing it, and I got this, tag on Instagram from Vogue, and I was like, shut up. Because this
Mhm.
was our very first feature, and I remember going to the website, and I had never Command F in Google and like searched anything so fast in life. I saw my name and Nema Iris, and I like ran up and down the stairs screaming. And I think it's one of those things like no matter if you are such a good planner, you can be like, these are the milestones I have for every single quarter. This is where I want to be. Come next week, come next month, come next year. There's just certain things that you cannot plan. You cannot plan like, oh, I want to be featured here, or like there's just certain opportunities that you just don't even know exist, and that's why you just have to
Yeah.
go for it. You have to go for
Exactly.
things in life, and especially if people don't believe in you, child. That's when you know you really got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And also congratulations to you on, I believe, winning an award from Vice as well recently.
Yes, thank
Yes. Yes.
you. Thank you.
Congratulations
I'm
on
really excited about that. That's another opportunity, right? That's like
that.
this Vice Media Fellowship is something that, you can't say, oh, in 2 years, I'm hoping to win a media fellowship. Like, no, it just comes along the way. And I think that's another result of like our community advocating for us, because a
Yeah.
lot of people said that to me that were in the community, and they were like, you should apply. I work for Vice. I would love to see your company take part of this like opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, so like now people will see a Nema Iris even more. So if you don't know of a Nema Iris, you will see our marketing
Yes.
ad somewhere soon, hopefully.
Exactly. And I'm going to talk about community later on, because I definitely want to talk about how all four of you kind of built a community around your brands. But I want to talk about, business strategy. Like, what were the strategic ways, you all developed or redefined your business model, as you started or as the years went on? And Christina, I'll start with you. So I know that your agency essentially has like two parts. So according to my notes, you guys have the entertainment and PRs and supporting studio dedicated to really connecting brands with Black British talent and diversifying their content, but also you have the digital agency talent as well, which is also supporting the talent as well, building their brands, beyond social media as well. And I know there's kind of three divisions within that as well, and the influencer side of things. Why was it important for you to expand on your business? Because I know this was very recent. And why do you think it's important for business owners to continuously kind of redefine and redevelop, their business model and their strategy? So there's a
Yeah.
two-part question.
Yeah, I think in terms of strategy, because my role at Vamp is head of strategy, like business development. So I'm always looking at kind of like new ways for us to expand our brand and our business, because I think that business constantly changes. And if the pandemic didn't show that if you don't evolve, then you'll die, then I don't know what else you can use as an example. So like, I think with Vamp, we started off as a talent management company. Sorry, there's extreme wind in London right now, guys. Anyway, it started off as a talent management company, and then we realized a lot of brands don't know how to work with Black content creators, and they don't know how to work with content creators in general. So what we started to do, we started to consult brands and teach them how to work with content creators, obviously pushing Black talent at the forefront. That's what we do all the time. And then we started working on the movies. So we started working with entertainment companies. So we work with all the big labels. And we also work with all the big kind of movie studios as well to diversify their reach and to make sure that their movies are reaching the right target audience. And like, we feel like that's very important. And we're also kind of moving into like the podcast realm as well. And also we're planning to also move into Africa too, because it's just always the same to evolve, because like diaspora, like we're from Africa, like even though we're Black British, we're from Africa, and our stories and all of our culture is because we are from Africa. So it's important for us to kind of explore that. But yeah, I'm a big believer in change or be changed, because you can never think that your business will be one thing and stay stagnant, because there's so many other environmental factors that will change who your business is, your identity, and all that kind of stuff. So try and be ahead of it rather than letting social media and the society pull your business. Like, you should always have strategic kind of ideas to move your business forward.
Thank you for that. And Sarah, I want to also get your take on this as well. I feel like Tungora is essentially, ready to wear brand, it's accessible price point as well. And, just have a very strong dedication to really highlighting, the Senegalese tailors, and highlighting craftsmanship as well. What really sparked your business strategy and business model? And also, why is it important in the fashion space to kind of redefine your business model as you continue to grow?
So I think at the time when we first launched, there weren't a lot of African brands available on the digital, like online. And it was important for me because if we wanted to be everywhere, we had to be accessible. So when I first started, actually, I mentioned it before, I was established in Paris. So I would come to Dakar, produce for 2-3 months, bring all the merchandise with me to Paris, because the postal system here weren't working as like, it just wasn't effective. And if I wanted to ship everywhere, I had to be in a place where actually I could do that. So I operated like that for a couple of months. And then when I came back for the second batch of the production in 2016, around August, I met with a couple of like courier companies, which is DHL and UPS, and they were actually launching their e-commerce's rates. So I was like, oh, actually, it makes sense for me to be on soil, produce everything, and for everything to be shipped anywhere in the world in a span of 4 or 5 business days. Because also, the goal was to be competitive as any other brand in the world. Another thing, we are like, when it came to logistics, around 20, until 2016, I think, it was very, very hard for African brands to be competitive when it came to shipping, because it would take 20 days if you use your local postal system to reach, let's say the US or France, or at least 2 weeks. And to be competitive in the e-commerce sector, that just it just wasn't working for me. So when that happened, I knew that I wanted to keep that route, because that was the most effective for me. And also, now I think it's more accessible for anyone to go to a DHL, set up an account, and be able to run your e-commerce, because they just understood. I think those companies understood that there was actually a huge market to be served on the continent. But at the time, I think we were one of the first, besides one or two marketplaces that were already operating like that. And that was a huge part of the strategy, to be available everywhere at a very competitive um, at a very competitive speed, if I can say so, because people see something and they want it now. Now, I think, with the pandemic, a lot of things have changed, and obviously, we're taking in consideration the pace at which we used to do things. My goal was never to produce at a pace like those fast fashion brands, because obviously, we want to produce quality items, we want to answer demand in time, but people also understand that we're producing everything in house. And I always say, because it's interesting the way fashion is recalibrating itself right now, when they're talking about, oh, we need to slow down the pace and everything needs to be more sustainable. But Africa has always operated, in a sustainable way, in that sense, because we've always done with what we had at the moment and on the spot. So it doesn't change anything. The strategy always has to evolve and adapt to whatever happens, especially at the times we are now, because if we want to be more competitive, obviously the numbers are growing and the audience are growing, the customer base is growing as well. We have to be able to scale, but to scale in a way that is um, in a way that matches, our vision. I don't want to rush and go from 20 tailors to 100 in less than a year, because it has to be sustainable. We need to keep the pace so that the growth is not, so that we don't crash at the end of the year. Because the goal, I think, for everyone is to build a brand that lasts, and so that we can build, powerhouses that like we have in the West and Europe. And so, yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you so much, Sarah. And I just have a few final questions before we kind of move into the Q&A. I see that all four of you have a very very purpose-driven initiatives dedicated to community building, and essentially building an kind of ecosystem, fostering change and impact, not only through your brand, but also through how you're creating your brand, or supporting that brand as well. And Susie, I actually want to go to you on this question, and why is having a purpose-driven initiative so important to you? I know that you have like the monthly salon suite, which allows individual beauty professionals, provide them spaces without the risk of overhead, or the risk of the expense, as well as your online beauty academy as well. So why was it important for you to kind of support your community, and have a purpose-driven initiative in through your business?
So when I first started, it started out as a hobby, and I knew that I needed to have a balance between business and creativity. One of my biggest things is knowing your why. Like, why are we doing all of this? Like, what makes your brand special? What give to the community? What, even with one person, how can I bring more to them, more value to them? So I looked within myself first because that's the main thing. Like I gotta, if I'm not right, then nothing's right. So I look within myself and I ask myself if I was a beauty professional, what are some challenges or what are some things that I can do to be a better cosmetologist?
Yeah.
One of the biggest thing is like payments, right? You know, what's really big in salons are like 1099s. You know, you get your money at the end of the week or within the day, but there's no way to like kind of like navigate through that when it's tax season, you know. So I incorporated like a payroll system, so that way like beauty professionals don't have to worry about, you know, doing their taxes. Everything comes out, you know,
Wow.
they're able to see the reports. If they want to get a house, they can get a house. They have like, you know, a paper system, you know, that. So that was one challenges that I saw. Another thing is like even having classes, you know, a lot of people want to know more about their hair. They want to know how it works. They want to know what products, you know, is right for them. So having classes, you know, online classes, hands-on classes, you know, teaching people about themselves, teaching them about beauty, teaching them on, you know, how, why we use certain tools or why we sanitize, you know, just diving more deep into the behind the scenes. And I wanted to create a suite for people who, you know, have their own clientele. They want to build their own brand. You know, I know that was kind of hard for me in the beginning, being the fact that I didn't really have a lot of people to look up to. So I kind of had to go through all the challenges and trials on my own. And then eventually, you know, I found a mentor and people who really believed in me. I would say this: believe in yourself, you know, no matter what, you know, whatever you feel like is important to you, that is what is gonna dive in. That is what's gonna flourish, you know. So I feel like there was so many moments where I decided that I was like, yo, should I quit? Should I just stop now? Like, this is a lot of problems. Like, should I just stop? You know, and I'm like, I'm not a quitter though. Like, that's not in my, I'm not known for being a quitter. I'm known for getting it done, even if it's like, yo, it's like your back is against the wall, you know, like being homeless, you know, not knowing where to sleep, you know, just believing like things are gonna come out, you know, things are gonna, it's gonna be better. And I had to remember that because a lot of people are also watching me too, right? Like it's not just for me. Like this, everything that's created, that we're all creating, it's not just for us. Like we're helping the next person, you know? Like if we stop, if we decide that, you know, we're not gonna do it, that creates a huge shift into the beauty industry. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody who's looking at you and they wanna like aspire to like start a business, aspire to start a school, you know, they're like, oh, I see me through you. You know, so it's important to know your why. Every single day I know why I'm doing this. I know that when I make that decision to get up and, you know, go to the salon and greet clients and, you know, and start ahead, I know that another person is eating from this as well. You know, we have black staff, you know, black women, you know, they feed their families with this business too. You know, even the clients, you know, the people who come, you know, different college students, doctors, lawyers, artists, you know, this is a space where everyone comes, you know, and connect, and they find out like, oh my God, you know someone there, or you know someone there, and they just, it's just like it's just a strong community. So
Yeah.
I always look at my community as my why.
Yeah. So knowing your why, building a relationship with your community as
Yes,
well.
yes, yes,
And And with Gloria, I also wanted to ask you this question as well. You know, why having such a purpose-driven mission is important, you know, to your brand as well. I know that Anima Iris is essentially in the intersections of, you know, sustainability, as well as, you know, supporting the artisanal community as well in Senegal. So why was it important to have these purpose-driven initiatives embedded and integrated into the DNA of your brand?
Because it's what makes the brand unique, right?
Mhm.
When you think about, do we need another handbag brand out there? Do we need another fashion brand out there? Well, you do when it's a brand that is in alignment with the values that people hold true to them, right? People want to support brands now, especially not been post pandemic, but I think what the pandemic really forced us to do is really consider where do we spend our money, and how do we be more intentional about that. People want to support brands that are sustainable. People want to support brands that are owned minority owned. People want to support brands that care about the people who are producing them. Right? We see a lot of issues with
Mhm.
these massive brands having like sweatshop labor. That's not happening over at Anima Iris, right?
Yeah,
People want to know that the money they're paying for these products are being reinvested back into the communities that look like them. And we don't see a lot of brands like that. And so it's so incredibly important, because you're really reshaping the role capitalism can play and how, capitalism as a structure can be utilized to actually help people instead of exploit people, to
mhm,
actually push forward marginalized cultures, and to tell stories in ways that have never been done before that are not only about profit, but it's about the sustenance of real people's lives. That's why
exactly.
it's such a purpose-driven company.
Exactly. I feel like that's a great answer, and highlighting the importance of the different stakeholders involved as well to really building this brand and also kind of reinvesting and giving back to this brand. So I wanted to go to the Q&A. We have loads of questions coming in. So I think this is a really great question, and I want to ask you, Christina, this. What are the tips for building a long-lasting, impactful relationships with the different stakeholders in your business?
In my opinion, I feel like relationship building is like very, very important because there's some brands that we pitched to like back in the day when we first started Vamp that didn't want to hear a word, but we made sure we developed those relationships and we just don't hold grudges. I feel like a lot of the times we have our dream brands and dream people that we want to work with, but they sometimes you don't fit into their budget, so you don't fit into their strategy right now. So always nurture and foster those relationships because when things start to change, people always kind of come back. And I don't think anyone should look at it more of like as a, oh, now they want to come back because I'm popping kind of thing. I think you should just look at it now. Look at the fact that they're coming back to you and that you're getting a new client. I don't know. I think look at it in more of a positive way than a kind of, negative way. And I think
Right.
that outlook of just looking at things more positively will, like, I don't know, the energies and the karma, it will just bring you
Yeah.
more clients and it will just always like nurture relationships. Like, for example, we had someone who worked at Disney when we were working on Black Panther and A Wrinkle in Time and stuff, who then went on to Warner Brothers. And then because she was at Warner Brothers, we had a retainer contract with Warner Brothers because she moved there. And when we pitched to Warner Brothers, she spoke good words about us. So then next thing you know, we got a huge contract.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
like, just kind of maintain relationships to answer that question. Well,
Maintain networks and
yeah.
relationships kind of builds your opportunities as well.
Mm.
Does anyone else want to answer that question? How to develop long-term relationships with stakeholders? Anyone? Sarah? Or
I,
Susie?
I would say, I would say, I I always see where anybody who's working within my business or with my business, I always see value in them, right? I always see them as more so a partner, like,
Mhm, mhm.
I like, okay, how are you
Oh, Susie, I think we
just back?
okay. You're
I'm
back.
here.
We may have
See
lost
me?
you. Yes, we see you.
Okay. Yes. So I see them as partners. I always want to add value to them as well as they add value to me and my brand. Um, I feel like it's just creating long-term partnership and relationships with people is much more powerful than always about money, you know,
Right.
because most of the time you see like people really believe in your business in a way where if you're not in the room, they talk so highly of it, like, oh my God, I love you don't understand how much I love working here by Susie, or how much I love like just being around there. Like it's such a community, it's so strong, like it's a sisterhood, it's a brotherhood, they always checking on us, it's just like these are the things people say, when they're not in the room, is because like you see them more than just like it's not about money. It's like
Exactly.
more, yeah, like a value, like a valuable relationship, you
Exactly.
know.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. I look at it more than
Beyond the business, like
exactly
longevity with the community.
longevity. That's way more, because you never know. Like I've worked with like some of the biggest people, and like even if I don't like do the job, I'm like, yo, look, I still respect you, and fast forward, they'll call you for another job, another gig. So I like relationships are way more important than profit to me. I
Right.
feel like profit, yes, of course, but like you see like how long the relationship really like it really can move you, and you can move it really move you to rooms that you never imagined,
Before. Right.
just with relationship.
Yeah.
just just
Exactly.
just like, hey, how are you, how's everything, I just wanted to check up on you.
Yeah. Value the importance of relationships and networks.
That's
For one.
right.
One thing you could take away from this, networks and relationships as well.
Exactly.
You know, I wanted to move on to the next question. Everybody, I have to ask you this, Sarah and Susie. What was it like working with Beyonce? how
Oh,
how did that, experience really propel both of your brands, and what was that like?
hard
Yeah.
work, hard work. I'm not gonna lie. Like before I got that gig to work with Beyonce, I was working 7 days a week. I know you gotta have
Oh wow.
rest, but I was like, no, I'm working every single day, no sleep. Like I sleep, but work.
Work.
Let's get it. We got things to do. So I started working. Solange is the artist that broke me into the industry, and I started working with her, and she was like, "Oh, like my sister may come to you for a hairstyle," and I was like, "I wasn't thinking much. I know. I just was like, okay, but I didn't really, whatever." So I was actually on my way to another gig, and I in that time, like I had like I wasn't really strong in my intuition, right? Like I knew
Right.
it was there, but I wasn't. I'd be hearing it, but I'd be like, I hear you, but like, I'm gonna do my own thing. So my intuition was telling me, do not go to this gig. Don't go. I said, why? Like I've been working so hard to get to this. Don't go to this gig. Don't go. I end up coming in front of the gig, like literally right outside. I get a call. Really? Oh, Beyonce wants you to do her hair. I'm like, what? When? Right now? There's a driver
Oh
on their way.
wow.
Like what? Like I was like, oh wow. So I was like, all right, slow down, slow down. Let me do this gig. So I did. I did this gig, and then I went to do her hair, and just the experience was very inspiring.
Mhm.
Only because she allowed me to like have creative control. Like when doing hair, I always tell clients and people like, look, we're the artists, you're the artist as well. It's a collaborative thing. But at the end of the day, you want like when you're creating, you want the magic to just create itself.
Yeah.
So I was really happy that she allowed, both of us to like collaborate and for us to create like, whatever it created, like the lemonade. It was just so beautiful. It was inspiring. It was inspiring and hard.
Did you
Honestly,
ever?
Beyonce, she, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She want the best. So
Yeah. I feel like everyone knew that hairstyle. Did you ever think that was going to be such an iconic look at the time?
honestly, when we were creating it, I was like, oh wow, it's shaped like, oh wow. It was just shaped like a lemon. Like it was just like everything to the side. It was like very interesting. And even till now, I walk down the street and I'm like, wow, like here's how we made it, like we created. See, this, it comes back to like knowing your why and like knowing that, yo, it's bigger than you. You might think that what you're creating here is like, oh, it's pretty dope, but to the world, it's like, wow. So you just gotta keep have that tunnel vision. Like, I concentrate when I'm doing here. I'm in the moment. I'm not there. I'm here. Like, I'm like, how can I make this as neat, as perfect? And I know people say perfect. There's no, like, I believe in that. Like, I'd be like, no, this got to be perfect. Like, when the person come out of my chair, I want them to say, wow, this is perfect. Then I'm all right, I did my job.
Exactly. And Sarah, what about for you as well? I know that, especially your brand was featured in Black is King as well. What was that experience like for you as well?
So I was in touch with Zarina Ikers, which is Beyonce's stylist, for the longest, because when I used to run the magazine, she used to come to Paris for Fashion Week, and at the time we would attend together. So we already had this relationship. And when I launched the brand, I mean, far from me to even think that, because obviously I was in a luxury brand, so far from me to think that this would happen. But I think somehow, somewhere deep in my heart, I manifested it, because that was one of the goal. I was like, oh, that would be cool if, Beyonce wears it one time. And I remember saying this to a friend, and they were just like laughing at me, but and so one thing happened actually in 2017. There's a huge French brand that copied one of our bags. It was one of the iconic blue bags, a 60 centimeter long clutch that we launched. And so this was actually the first time the brand gained international exposure, because the whole world started talking about it. And I think the luck that I had is that I had one of my foot in the industry, so I just reached out to so many of my friends, and I was like, you need to talk about this, because it's something that keeps happening, and this time they should not be able to get away with it, because I'm gonna be vocal, and we have to stand for ourselves. So I reached out also to a lot of friends, stylists, and they were like, okay, we're going to try to, push for the product, because there's nothing really that you can do unless you have the means to fight, legally against it. But you can also use, that momentum and build up your own brand and have your products everywhere, and just, keep the marketing doing the work for yourself. So that's what I did. At the time, Zarina, I just started working with Beyonce, and she was like, okay, send me some of the bags and I'll see what I can do. It didn't happen at the time. I think it was the year later. I went to Paris. Beyonce and Jay-Z were on tour, and I was just there for vacation. But also, we were organizing our first pop-up, and I had some few items left with me. I met with Zarina for breakfast, because we hadn't connected in maybe 4 years, because I had moved to Dakar at the time. And out of the blue, she was working crazy between the tour and also the personal wardrobe, and she was telling me, wow, she had to start working on the summer vacation wardrobe. They were going to Italy to take a break after the European leg of the tour. I was like, well, you know what, I have some stuff left from the pop-up. I can give that to you. But it's just there was no like real intent behind it. It was like, oh my god, please make. And also it doesn't work like that. Like she makes her selection, and then Beyonce picks whatever she wants to wear, because at the end of the day, say. And so I gave her the stuff. I went back to Dakar the next day. That was July 2018, and I think it was on July 26th or 27th. One of my friends just woke me up on WhatsApp, sending me a message with a picture, and she was like, Sarah, is that Tongoro? And then the rest is history. And it was just madness. It was madness. And at the time, I only had like 4 tailors, and during that trip, she wore like Tongoro twice already. And so some of the fabric that she was wearing, because at the time when I was producing, I would do just a small batch, see if the looks works, and then if it works, I will produce the entire roll of fabric. So we had some left, and I knew that it would be like it would sell in a minute because obviously it's Beyonce. And just to give you the impact that she had on the brand at the time, monthly, and we were in business for about a year and a half. We were
Right.
making around 6,000 euros a month, and that summer, by the end of August, we generated 22,000 in sales, and then it's been on and on and on and on and on. And in December, they were doing the South African leg of the tour
Yep.
for the 100 years of what was it again? Sorry, I forgot. But they reached out to me to do some more pieces for her, and then it was like it kind of became like an ongoing collaboration. And I'm so grateful to her and Zarina Akers,
Yeah.
because it's been, it's the impact is real. I mean, at least in terms of sales, but also it happened because my brand was accessible, at that price point, and people were like, "Oh my god!" And the best comment for me was like, "Oh my god, finally a brand that Beyonce wears that I can afford." And then the set
Mhm.
one of our iconic bestsellers, and we just keep producing it every season in different prints and colors.
Oh, that's literally the Beyonce effect, right?
Oh
Right.
yeah, yeah, it is real. It is real.
Oh, that's
So
I could agree.
cool.
I could agree.
something
That's
Can I say
amazing.
something really quickly
Yes, go ahead.
that I feel like I learned from Susie and Sarah right now, which I feel like it's like as an entrepreneur, you have to constantly be advocating for your brand, right? And
Yeah.
like constantly like always working. Like when Susie's like she was working 7 days a week, I felt that. Like the hustle is real. Like yes, rest
Yeah.
is important, but at the end of the day, like your brand can only be built and go so far as you're willing to put into it. But like for Sarah to like sit in front of like Serena and be like literally like she could have been quiet. She could have said nothing.
Yeah.
You know, she could have been coy, but you have to advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for your brand. And I something I've heard a lot is like you make your own luck. You do. You
Oh,
make your own
absolutely.
luck. Like let's just you make your own luck. And so a lot of people they see what the results of that is, but they don't realize what you had to do to get there. Right? Like you have to be in certain places at certain times, but you constantly have to be inserting what you do into into where you are and make your own luck at the end of the day. And I think that's really really important that people often don't think a lot about.
Exactly. Like really kind of go in there and essentially create your own lane, essentially as well. And well, Gloria, actually, I have a question for you, and I feel like this kind of applies to every single one of you as well. I feel like there have been a lot of social media discussions about Black women and luxury and Africa and luxury, and how sometimes Black women and luxury are not in the same sentence for some strange reason. But there was a quote I saw, and I hope I quote you correctly. You said, "I'm really trying to change the global understanding of what luxury is, what luxury can be, and what it should be." And you're really inserting African into that dialogue. How has, that branding and storytelling propelled that message forward? And why was it important to even highlight that in the first place for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as an African, like African people created style. And due to the nature of the fact that our continent hasn't really industrialized fully at the same level that other countries and continents have. A lot of things are still handmade, which, in my opinion, is what luxury is. And I think that we don't see Black women in luxury. Black women are the drivers of culture behind all of these really massive brands, and I really want to change that. Right? I constantly want people to reconsider what they believe to be true, and so my favorite campaign that we've done so far is our campaign that we did for Spring Summer 21 collection that we shot in Ghana with Ghanaian women. And it was really high class TV's African culture. So it's really giving African Bridgerton. And it's very luxurious, right? It's like you bring all these amazing African talent, the photographers, African, the people assisting, the creative director, everyone is African, and every single time people see photos from that shoot, they cannot believe it's shot in Africa. And I'm like, every single thing about it was shot in Africa, specifically in Accra, Ghana. I think that's really important. There's so much talent on our continent, and we have to bring that to the forefront because, in my opinion, we can do it a whole lot better than anyone else in Europe can. Um, and we just need those opportunities, and we just need to remain confident in ourselves. Because a lot of people, made me feel like blackness puts us out. That if I only use black models, I would never
Right.
get far. But that's not true because we actually have a lot of non-black women customers, right? So like, people see themselves in other aspects of the brand having to do with race. But the black women who do see themselves in this brand has everything to do with race. Like it's the first time they're seeing themselves in this way, and that's why for me it's really important that the imagery we continue to put out, campaigns we continue to put out, is showcasing that. And if people have a problem with that, then Anima is just not for you. That's okay, you know.
And that's okay,
And
there's a
that
room
is
for someone
okay.
else.
There's a whole lot of other brands that are for you, but there aren't enough that are for us.
Exactly. Exactly. I feel like that's a really, really important message that you mentioned. It's really important to just like, again, create our own lane, have autonomy over our stories, and just kind of just push it forward. If it's for you, if it's for you, if it's not, on to the next. So I kind of have to wrap this up quickly, but I wanted to ask you, Christine, a final question as well. I feel like, you've been in the agency space for a while. And I know the agency space is very hectic, very, very intense. And someone from the audience would love to know, like, how do you manage your time, between the launches, the pitches, the events? How do you do that? How do you stay productive? And do you have any advice for those of us that want to multitask?
That's a very, very interesting question. I think back in the day when I first started Ramp, I used to feel overwhelmed a lot. I used to feel very overwhelmed by how much work we had, how much things we had to do by ourselves. But as Ramp has grown, and obviously as we've made more revenue, we've been able to like kind of hire people to do different things. But like personally, managing my time, I'm just a go person. Like I don't mind working weekends. Like I know people, it's a taboo. People say you shouldn't work too hard, but I work hard, play hard. Like I work really hard, but I also find time to play hard. And play hard to me means like going out and seeing my friends, or getting a facial, or getting my hair done, or getting my nails done, or going to meet my entrepreneurial friends so that we can just have a chat about how life is stressing us. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, exactly.
yes, and I think I manage my time by, I don't know, just making sure that I get things done. Because when you don't get things done, that's when you start to feel overwhelmed. And I think I realized that kind of recently. Like the reason why I was feeling overwhelmed in the past is because there's things that I would long off, and then I start getting stressed about the fact that I haven't done it, and then I won't do it and stuff like that. But people will always understand. Like if you let people know that you've got things happening here, you need to move a meeting, if you need to go and see someone else, if something has come to disrupt your whole day, client crisis, there's nothing wrong with moving things in your calendar. Do you know what I mean? So I think I'm a big believer in calmness, just being very calm, and like making sure that you focus on what's in front of you and dealing with that first, and then moving on to the next thing. I think that's how I like learned to like kind of manage my time and be a bit more efficient. It's kind of a weird answer, but I feel like it's just about being calm and just making sure that you manage like things head front,
And out of everything that you've done and you've put together, what has been your favorite campaign so far, putting together and executing?
Do you know what? The best campaign we've done is Hustlers. So we worked on the Hustlers movie.
Oh, how was that?
It was epic because obviously stripper movies, who doesn't love us?
Yes, like what?
Yeah, so we essentially rented out like a strip club and got some pole dancers and like did this big event, and we had over 250 influencers there, and it was just a crazy campaign because we also got to send 2 influencers from the UK to Toronto for the festival, for the premiere actually, and I think just the amalgamation of just having like something that's kind of pivotal in culture, like strip club is kind of pivotal in culture, and for me to be able to play on that and like make it a thing and just make it kind of mainstream and have influencers there and everyone just have fun and just make it just go like crazy and also have amazing results. I think it was just nice being able to kind of be yourself, in the campaign. So yeah, that's how we liked it.
Yeah, I love that. You again, it just adds like your purpose, and then there's also passion into it as well, and your interests. And I feel like that's kind of what creates and fuels your business, like doing what you love and
Yeah.
professionalizing it along the way as well. So I wanted to thank you ladies so very much for your time. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up. I have so many questions. I'm so mad I didn't get to ask all my questions, but it's okay. Thank you so much for your time today, and really appreciate it. I'd like to thank everyone, who tuned in as well to the session. We have another session at the end of the day as well with YouTube. And then we also have our sexual health and mental health panel tomorrow as well for our final day, which is going to be exciting. And I'd like to also announce the competition winner for our first giveaway. Their name is Chikondi Robinsons, who won the giveaway. So congratulations to you. It's winning Tongoro as well. So Sarah, they're going to be rocking your clothes, your nice, beautiful pieces. So congratulations to all of you as well. And the next one should be announced by tomorrow as well, hopefully. So, right. Thank you so much again for your time. And thank you everyone who tuned in. Again, I'm Adora Rama, CEO and founder of Amaka. Thank you all so very much for tuning into our session, our panel, and we're looking forward to seeing you all the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Everyone.
Bye.
There's this element that you might need to perform your culture and your identity just in order to stand out.
My whole career, I've been told to speak Kiswahili, and that's what's going to make me Kenyan. Learning to speak Kiswahili in Nairobi, is pretty difficult. So I haven't really gotten to that point, but I still would. I had a disdain for it before because I was like, that's not what makes you Kenyan. But now I'm like, it's actually a beautiful language. If I could ever put Kiswahili into my music, I'd want to do it authentically, but I'm not 100% sure that that's what would make me African. So I'm still figuring that out.